All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sorry for the delay, but we are here live. Give me 1 second as I turn this just a little bit. There we go. Tilt it up a little bit. Yo, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Bernie here, of course, on the charge. Give me the latest NBA news and rumors, and also basketball opinions, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. But before we do that, hey, Tyrese, how you doing, man? Hopefully everything is going well on a Friday. Hopefully you're relaxing, chillaxing, maybe playing some ball if your state allows you to, but, maybe you might be outside playing some ball. Who knows? But at the end of the day, we're here to talk about some of the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. And of course, we're going to give it to you with the basketball opinions today, because I do think that there is some things that we need to talk about as it pertains to a certain individual. And as you can see by the title, we do need to talk about, I believe, Ben Simmons. And I know that this is going to come across as me hating Ben Simmons once again, but I think it needs to be discussed, because I think, with the way that Ben Simmons played, with the way that, the 76ers were in line to try and trade him away and get James Harden, and ultimately the Rockets went in a different direction. I mean, still the trade was available for them. So what I think is that I think Ben Simmons, I don't think he's as valuable as he once was. And I think everybody's been bringing it up for the points that I've been saying probably for the last couple of years now. And that's, of course, that Ben Simmons has yet to evolve his game. I mean, when we really think about Ben Simmons and what he does, he does an amazing job. I just think that last night, he looked okay, but still what the concern is to me, Tyrese, and we'll kind of talk about this as we kind of continue to discuss what's going on with this, Ben Simmons, the way that he's been playing. The thing is that Ben Simmons has always been and always will be, and has even regressed a little bit, and maybe regressed in his points per game and scoring wise. But in terms of the way that he's playing, I just don't think it's intuitive to what's going on. So, again, guys, this is just my opinion. I know that there may be some Ben Simmons appreciators out there, but in my opinion, I think that Ben Simmons at the moment is not playing up to the standard that I think he should. But with that being said, let's discuss and go over to the live scene. Bing. And then let's see here. Of course, this is just looking bootleg version here. Let's see here. Let's go in there. All right, perfect. Alrighty. So when we come to Ben Simmons stats, and of course it's not up, I apologize for that. Let's see here. Webcam. No, where? For some reason, it is not showing up. Give me 1 second. Let's see here. Add a window capture. We'll add the web browser. Ben Simmons, hopefully this is not blurry as a mug, but it looks like... Oh. Oops, okay. Perfect, all right. For some reason, it just... Now it shows up. Okay, it's weird. Alrighty. So when we look at Ben Simmons stats and kind of looking at the 11 games that he's played, obviously he hasn't played that many. He is shooting about 33% from the three-point land, which is fine. We always expected this from Ben Simmons, right? Not to be like a really good three-point shooter, but to be a decent one at this point. But the problem that I see with Ben Simmons at the moment is that I haven't seen the growth and projection that I think I am seeing from a guy like Ben Simmons. I mean, we even look at, the years past where really what I want to do is really look at the field goals attempted. Right now he is 52 of 101, so that's not too bad. But these last couple games, I don't think he's been as aggressive that I think he really should have been. I see some things where I think that Ben Simmons really could be more aggressive, could be attack the rim, could attack the hole. But I don't necessarily see that from a guy like Ben Simmons. I really want to see him, from what we expected him to be to what he's actually shown, is that I don't think he has been the guy that, was supposed to be the next Magic Johnson. We all know Magic Johnson played the way that he did, passing the ball more often than scoring, but still Magic Johnson was able to score and get around the rim, and that's what made him as an effective passer, his ability to make shots and attack the rim. That's the thing that's going to make Ben Simmons more aggressive, and especially in today's game where the three-point shot is more prevalent than ever. I just think that he needs to really attack the rim more and attack the hoop, start shooting threes more. I mean, if we look at the situation as it pertains to Ben Simmons, you know, the one thing that concerns me is that he's attempting less field goals per game than he usually does, especially from the beginning of the 2017 season to where he's at right now. It has gone extremely down. I mean, think about it. You're attempting 13 attempts for a guy that we know could be a really efficient scorer. I mean, right now he's averaging, I believe, about like 12 or 13 points a game, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, that's kind of right. Yeah, 12.4 points a game, 8.6 rebounds, 7.9 assists. So, like, the assists and rebounds are always going to stay about the same because the dude's 6'10", 6'11", and can get boards and other things like that, which I don't think is necessarily the biggest issue for me. What I think is a big issue, though, is the fact that right now he is not attempting as many field goals as I think I would like my point guard to take. Like, look, I understand that Ben Simmons may be like old school in the way that like he doesn't like the point guard does point guard things. But the thing is that the dude is 6'10". He has the ability to go to the rim. I mean, I don't know if I can find the example, and maybe I will look up on my Twitter really quick of like the example of him attacking the rim or not attacking the rim. Again, guys, we are live. We're also going to be talking about the Kyrie Irving situation as well, so stay tuned for that too. But let me see here for Ben Simmons. It was Ben Simmons attacking rim. Let me see if I can. No, it's not here. Let me see here if I can find it. I know I may have retweeted it on. Whoops. No, I don't want to tweet out. Let me go to my Twitter really quick. Go to my other Twitter account. This is just my personal one. I think I might have retweeted it or maybe liked it. Media. No. Maybe I retweeted it. Maybe, no, I don't think I retweeted it. I guess maybe I didn't retweet it. But basically what I saw from the video was just Ben Simmons not attacking the rim, being aggressive the way that I think he really should be. Like, there was an instant, I believe, if I can find the game, I will try and see if I can find it on my phone. There was just one instant where I could see where he should have really attacked the rim, but instead he backed off, and that just creates the defense like saying like, all right, we're just gonna play off you and you don't really do anything. And I think that this is going to be a situation where I think the 76ers are going to have to start asking Ben Simmons to attack the rim more. Like, yes, Tyrese, I do think that they are a dangerous team. I do think that they possess something special in terms of like so much talent, right? When we got guys like Joel Embiid, we got guys like Ben Simmons, Milton, you got Tyrese Maxey, who's proven to be like a nice off the bench scorer for you. You got, I think I already said Milton, but you got so many great pieces in Philadelphia, but the problem is, and it always will be, one, can Joel Embiid stay healthy enough throughout the year and through the playoffs to really make a really big impact in there? I know they were one game away when they were playing the Toronto Raptors, but I just think the Toronto Raptors that year were just that good. And then, of course, Ben Simmons. I mean, let's say, for example, Joel Embiid doesn't have it that night, because every superstar is going to have an off night. The question for me is going to be, will Ben Simmons be able to carry the offensive load as the second superstar, right? We're talking Ben Simmons as a second superstar. We're not talking to him as if he's Lonzo Ball or Jason Kidd. Like, the numbers he's putting up right now is very Jason Kidd-esque. Like, I could see if, we kind of compared Ben Simmons to Jason Kidd, I'd be like, okay, that's kind of a fair comparison. A guy that will not necessarily be a star player or superstar player, but will be a very effective facilitator, making sure that everything sets up for the offense correctly. But like when and let's see here if I can find and we got here just talking about the James Harden. I was just looking at this, but let's look at Ben Simmons, triple double. And just kind of look at what happened last night. We got Chris Smoo video. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to show that just because it's NBA. But let me see here if I can find kind of what he did. I can't do the NBA. No. I don't think it's here. But, I do think like when I notice like Ben Simmons and just kind of like what's going on, like, it's just one of those things that, I think he just needs to be more aggressive. And I think that this triple-double that he got last night was a little bit overrated in my opinion. And Tyrese, you can disagree with me, or whoever else is in the comment section or chatting with me. You can disagree with me and say that it's not an aggressive triple-double. But, I mean, let's look at his stat line from that night. I mean, let's go to ESPN really quick and check out that stat line. Let me see here. Go to NBA, go to 76ers, and kind of look at the stat line that he had. You know, let's see here. Because they just played the Heat. I think it was the Heat. There was this game. Let's go to the recap. Or sorry, box score, and just look at kind of like what's been going on for Ben Simmons. If I can, I'll look at like the games previously, but look at this for Ben Simmons, right? 4 of 8. You're tied. I mean, you're tied with Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid only played 24 minutes compared to Ben Simmons, who played 34 minutes. I mean, that to me should be a red flag. That Ben Simmons only gets off 8 shots a game. Obviously shot 1-3 in this game. That's impressive to me, but only gave you 10 points. Like, you expect a lot more out of your players. I mean, obviously Shea Milton, was able to carry the 76ers. And to be honest with you, that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign that that Milton is going to be the one that's going to give you more points, when really it should be, guys like Joel Embiid, obviously only playing 24 minutes, so he was limited. Danny Green really just doing Danny Green things. He was actually good last night, 4 of 7 from 3, 2 of 4 for Tobias Harris, so he didn't do too bad. But really, like, Ben Simmons should be getting at least 17 to 18 points. Like, if that's kind of Ben Simmons' limit, and kind of being a guy that gets you assists and triple doubles like that, and getting you rebounds, I would honestly be okay with that. But the fact that he's only averaging 12.4 points a game, I think it's a little bit misleading, and I think it's a little bit overrated, the triple doubles that he gets. Because I mean, honestly, 10 points for a guy that's a 6'10", 6'11" superstar, right? That he's supposed to be the next LeBron James or the next Magic Johnson. But he hasn't developed the skills, in my opinion, to really warrant and progress to the point where I could see him being the next big thing. Like right now, where I kind of see Ben Simmons at is that he's kind of just in this sort of like, I would say like he's just in this sort of like kind of stage, or like in this mediocrity stage, really, because I really do expect Ben Simmons to be a top, maybe not a top scorer, but kind of being in there with like the maybe averaging 20 points per game, because he's able to attack the rim and go strong and pass off the rock if everybody's like coming at him, and then getting rebounds. Obviously that's what he does that, so I'm actually okay with the rebounding numbers from him. But and I'm honestly okay with the assist numbers, but it's the points to me that are going to be really concerning. 5 turnovers, not ideal, especially for your guy that's supposed to be the point guard. The thing that kind of just worries me and concerns me about a guy like Ben Simmons is that we expect him to be a superstar player. We expect him to be, like I said, the next Magic Johnson. And I'm sure Magic Johnson took way more field goal attempts than Ben Simmons has this year. 4 of 8, yeah, it's a solid number for a backup that's on the team that's trying to, solidify his role in that 17 to 18 minutes, going 4 for 8. I mean, that's perfect numbers for him. But the fact that you kind of gave up all your attempts to a guy like Milton, who Milton's an absolutely incredible scorer, and he's got the hot hand. You just got to give it to him. But Joel Embiid demanded 8 shots. So did Danny Green demanded 8 shots. Tyrese Maxey took 10 shots. The fact that the rookie is taking more, I would say, more attempts than you, to me is a concern. Like the fact that you have a guy in Maxey who is a rookie, scored 15 points that night, was 6 of 10, 1 for 3. I mean, I feel like he did a lot more than Ben Simmons. I understand that Ben Simmons defensively is a juggernaut. I understand that offensively, when he attacks the rim and does all these things, like, he's a good player. But to be honest with you, and what frustrates me more and more about Ben Simmons is that he is unwilling to grow his game for the past 4 years. And I said this to Pete, and I know that me and Pete have had our discussions. We've had our disagreements on it. But to be honest with you, this is the reason why I'm like probably the most disappointed that I've ever been in a superstar in my lifetime than Ben Simmons. Like, the only person that could come close and not a superstar is just Jahlil Okafor, because I really thought that he could have been a really solid player. But it turned out not to be the case, to be like, kind of be a superstar, maybe not superstar, but all-star type of player. I would have saw from Jahlil Okafor, just the way that I saw him play, his mixtapes, and just kind of like studying him. I thought, man, this guy kind of may have it, but at the end of the day, he didn't. And Ben Simmons is kind of going in that same direction, because, like I said, he has yet to develop and grow his game. Like, if he was a guy that was in the gym, working on his jump shot, working to at least take them. Like, he took 1 yesterday, which is perfect. But you're gonna have to start taking a lot more than that to really be effective. Like, I understand that you're not the 3-point shooter, the 3-point specialist, so you're not going to take like 4 or 5 shots a game, but you need to at least take 2 or 3. Like, I mean, that's kind of the thing. I mean, Joel Embiid, I think, took 2. Maxey took 3. and the fact that you took one, but I think I'm not even sure what that one is. We'll have to take a look at that and kind of see what maybe we can go to the play-by-play and look at it. Maybe I can find this jump shot. Let's see here. So let's go to Ben Simmons and kind of look at this really quick and go to his 3-point. Let's see. Ben Simmons. And I wish I could look up 3-point shot from Ben Simmons. So he missed a jumper from the corner. I mean, the corner is like the closest shot. And like I said, like I'm not trying to like, and the thing is like I'm not angry at Ben Simmons. I'm not trying to be a hater. But what I'm trying to do is be a realist about Ben Simmons. Like, I know that Ben Simmons is a great player. Obviously, defensively is an unstoppable. I mean, like, the fact that you have a 6'10 power forward can guard 1 through 5 is amazing. Like, you rarely get that in today's game. Like, that's a rarity. But what I do find kind of frustrating and what I kind of notice about this whole situation is that when it comes to Ben Simmons, it's just one of those things that I want to see him be more aggressive. Not only aggressive on the defensive end, he got the steal in the fast break dunk in this little clip over here on the side, right? You know, got the steal, shot the gap, got the steal, and was able to do it. And you know what? I think that you're going to get that from Ben Simmons from time to time. But what is frustrating, like I said, is just the fact that I know that Ben Simmons is capable of much more. And I think everybody's been clamoring Ben Simmons to be more aggressive, to attack the rim, to shoot more shots. But the fact that he shot 4 of 8 is kind of, I would say, a little bit disheartening. And if we kind of go like game by game, I mean, let's go to the last game that they played, not this one, but if we go back even one more game and we kind of go back to, oops, we're still here. If we go back to the Heat that they played and won the other night, I believe, like if we go to the box score and look at the team stats I guess we'll go box score. I believe he only shot 2 times in this win. Yeah, Ben Simmons, 2 of 2, 6 total rebounds, 12 assists with a +2 with 6 turnovers. I mean, the turnovers to me they're kind of creeping up a little bit. And if we look at his average turnovers a game, if we look at the turnovers per game, he's averaging probably the highest turnovers per game he's ever had. 4 is not necessarily the best or the worst. I mean, if we look at a guy like LeBron James throughout his career, and just kind of the season really quick, if we kind of compare the two, because those two are comparable in my opinion. Those two guys are the guys that you like. A lot of people try to equate that these two guys are going to be, rivals to one another. I mean, in this season, he's averaging about 3.5. We've seen situations where he's averaged 4.1 because he was mostly the point guard in those 2 seasons where he was, kind of the point guard in that essence. But since having a guy like Dennis Schroeder, you see that his point guard numbers have gone completely down in terms of turnovers. Like assists, I feel like are still kind of the same, except now he's averaging 7.5. Obviously, 10.2 is the highest in his career last year, and that's because obviously they didn't have a point guard. Like Rondo was kind of a backup at this point, but having a guy like Dennis Schroeder as like a modern point guard is something to behold, and it's something that allows a guy like LeBron James to kind of lower the number of turnovers. But, like I said, going back to Ben Simmons, averaging 4 turnovers a game is not something that I want from my power forward or point forward at this point, And I do think like maybe I am being a little bit harsh and critical of Ben Simmons, but averaging 4.7 field goals a game is just that's just not going to cut it. Especially when in this age you have to score the rock. It doesn't matter which position you are. It doesn't matter, where you are on the court. You have to score the rock. And I just don't necessarily see that from a guy in Ben Simmons. And like I said, this may come off as I'm hating on Ben Simmons. This may come off to people as, why are you attacking Ben Simmons? Like, you like these other guys. Like, why does Ben Simmons why does Ben Simmons get a pass? Or why does Ben Simmons not get a pass, but Lonzo gets a pass? And I'm not giving a pass to Lonzo. I think Lonzo is doing his role. I don't expect Lonzo to be a superstar caliber player. What I do expect him to be is a guy that'll be solid, Jason Kidd-esque, Jason Kidd in his latter years, get the rebounds, get the assists, and hit the open shots. He needs to do a little bit better job. I think this season he's kind of struggled a little bit, and that's just because I think he's been taken off the point guard duties and has been basically kind of seen and now used by Stan Van Gundy as a shooting guard, and that to me is just disappointing. But at the end of the day, I think Ben Simmons, we'll see if the 76ers team can do anything. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the 76ers team is any different from the years past. Like, yes, like when we look at their roster, if we look at the 76ers roster and look at their depth chart, You got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid. But then it comes down to the bench. I love Maurice Thybulle. I think he's still a young player growing and progressing. Shake Milton's obviously showing you that he can be a scorer off the bench. Tyrese Maxey, same thing, can be a scorer off the bench. Dwight Howard, a little bit older, but you can see that he's doing some things. But other than that, and I understand that it's not supposed to be a deep bench, but Furkan Korkmaz is another guy that, was getting a little bit more playing time than I believe other guys were. And, he's obviously kind of regressed. I mean, 25% from the three-point land, 25% from the field, it's just not going to cut it. And so the thing that I'm seeing here, and Tobias Harris, we can't forget about him. I think we already talked about him. But the thing with this team is that they're the same, I believe, the same as the Trust the Process team that was many years back. And I think the reason why they're struggling, or maybe not struggling so much, obviously, without a bunch of players, they're obviously not going to do very well, right? Because you got so many players out due to the contract tracing. You got so many players out just due to injury. But the fact that, the 76ers tried to kind of finesse that and say that, oh, Ben Simmons is hurt and we don't have enough players. Yeah, they said, no, we're going to see you at 7. Tip-offs at 7. And so I think at the end of the day, what I do find frustrating and what I do think is kind of annoying to me is that we give passes to guys like Ben Simmons who, guys like Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, guys that should be doing their job of getting better and working together and and I'm not trying to like put Ben Simmons in the same like boat as Kyrie Irving, but what I'm talking about is just the things that you need to work on in the offseason. And I just don't think that Ben Simmons does that. And I want to see Ben Simmons do that. I want to see Ben Simmons get better. I want to see Ben Simmons develop that jumper that has been missing in his game since God knows how long. I mean, since he was a freshman at LSU. I think that's just been missing and he needs to work on it. I understand that when you're in the league or like when you're going into the league or you're trying to develop and grow and get in, when you start going into that situation, we see what happens. Like, people start developing their game and people don't really develop their game. Honestly, like if you think about it, some players stay the same way because they say, well, it worked in college, it worked in high school. Why wouldn't it work in the NBA? And I think people forget that there's more athletic players in the NBA than there's ever been in NBA history. And so Ben Simmons needs to work on that jumper because otherwise how effective is he going to be in the low post? Because most of the time, whenever he's not playing the point guard position, he's in the low post and not really doing much besides being like the kind of short corner catch guy and go dunk it or go finish at the rim. And, I think that, Doc Rivers is doing a tremendous job with this team, but there's a reason why Daryl Morey was looking at getting James Harden. There was a reason why the Houston Rockets were looking, or sorry, not Houston Rockets, but there's a reason why the Houston Rockets, in my opinion, didn't take the Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey trade. One, because obviously, it looks like the Houston Rockets are valuing draft picks over anything else. But two, they see the progression of a guy like Ben Simmons. They see the progression of a guy like Tyrese Maxey, and they don't believe that equates to guys like Caris LeVert or guys like Victor Oladipo or guys like Jarrett Allen, who they were more willing to part ways with than getting rid of Ben Simmons, or instead of acquiring Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey. I think that's got to be a little bit damning because it kind of shows you that Ben Simmons' stock has fallen a little bit. It hasn't been the same since that rookie year where people were like, oh, this guy's going to be the next Magic Johnson. Like, it hasn't been. Ben Simmons honestly hasn't been the same player since then because there was so much intrigue. I really was expecting Ben Simmons to take that next progression in year 3, and at the end of the day, he stayed about the same player, right? I mean, if we look at year 3, averaging about 16 points per game, and that's the thing. Like, I'm not expecting Ben Simmons to be like averaging, so many points per game. I'm not expecting him to be like a 30-point per game scorer, but what I am expecting him to do is to at least be an effective scorer, average 20. Average 18, like 18 to 20 points per game shows me that although you're not the number 1 guy, you could at least be the number 2 guy and be effective. So that way, if the number 1 guy's struggling, you can fill in. And I just don't think that Ben Simmons, drafted at number 1 overall, that's what you expect from your superstars, in my opinion. You kind of expect that from, I would say you expect that from a guy like Ben Simmons. You expect there to be some superstar potential there. And honestly, it just hasn't been fulfilled. And it is disappointing, I would say, because like I said, I think Ben Simmons has all the tools and the capability of being that number 1 guy. The question for me now is going to be, can he ever get there? And year 4 is showing you that it's kind of just been the same. But again, guys, that is just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this Ben Simmons triple-double? Obviously, I think he's the youngest to get as many triple-doubles as he has. Let me see if there's any news on that. I mean, let's see. Nope. But I'm glad that, and we'll talk about the kind of the COVID situation for the NBA, because I think that shout out to the Pope getting a Hawks jersey. But let's see here. We talked about this before, and this was sort of the move that I thought that they should have done. This is a move that I thought the NBA should have done since the beginning, and that is expanding the rosters. To be honest with you, you should have a player pool, and Jamal Crawford talked about it, but I was on board 100%. I was even thinking that before I even saw Jamal Crawford's tweet, is that they really should expand the rosters, because think about it. The NBA has stated itself that, look, we know that people are getting sick. We know that people can't participate when they are sick. So what we are doing is that we're basically saying, all right, you know what? We're gonna create the system where these players have to sit out so many games, and instead of postponing them, which I know that the NBA doesn't want to do, and we talked about it before, you should expand the rosters for that reason. The reason why you expand those rosters is so that way you can continue playing, and the guys that are in that system are able to grow and develop, and you have some backup bodies so that way they can get some rest. And I think that's the way you need to approach it. I think that's the way that the NBA should really be looking at things. Like, we need to start looking at ways to get teams more players and get them in a pool where it's like, okay, they test every day, they're working out every day, and if a team needs you, they can just go to that team, almost like an independent contractor, where like you basically pay, like, let's say for example Jamal Crawford, if they need him in Phoenix, he's there in Phoenix playing with them. If they need him in Orlando, he's there in Orlando playing. Like, I think that, although it would be a little tricky because you never know, just like in terms of like privacy of the plays and stuff like that. But I feel like maybe that would be tough in my opinion. Like, thinking about it now, because there's so many like legalities about it. Like, do you have to like create non NDAs about like making sure you don't share our plays and stuff like that? I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming, but even if you just expand the roster and have a big pool, and guys like Isaiah Thomas or Jamal Crawford can stay on the team for the rest of the year and basically be a practice player or like a player that they call up if something happens, right? That's what I kind of want to see. Like, I want to see that from them. But ultimately, the NBA is kind of not really, I don't even know what they're trying to do right now. They really need to start looking at different ways to get players, to get people involved in participating in the NBA. In terms of getting names in the rosters and doing other things like that, because right now we're not seeing that. And I need to see that from the NBA, because I think that in order for the league to be successful, you need to add more players to it. You need to make sure that the games are able to continue. I understand that it sucks that right now my Boston Celtics are affected by it. Jason Tatum's going to be out for a week or two, but at the end of the day, I do think the season needs to continue, or otherwise, you're going to stop, and every time there's like a big kind of flare up, you're going to stop, and then it's like the season gets delayed and you're losing tons of money. And ultimately, I want to see the players get their paychecks. So that's the reason why I'm advocating for them to continue, is because, look, I understand that health is better than wealth, or health is wealth, and that kind of stuff like that. But man, like, these players, they need that money. Like, I'm not even talking about like the top tier players, like the James Hardens, the Kyrie Irvings, the Kevin Durant's, LeBron James. I'm talking about the guys that are off the bench, or, this is their first year contract, and, they work so hard to make a living off playing basketball. Like, I want them to do that. But ultimately, if more season delays continue, if everything happens like that, what's to stop an owner from saying, we're losing so much money, it makes sense to cut the fluff. So all these two-way contract players, all these players that are at the low end of the totem pole, we're just going to have to cut you because we're not making enough money. Like, I don't want to see that happen to those guys. And so they need to figure out a way to continue to get those guys the money and do it in a way that's safe and effective. And I think that adding more players, creating a system where players can be in a huge pool. You're like, all right, we're going to take you for the rest of the year. You're one of our like reserve practice players. Kind of like in soccer, how they have like a U23 system. Like, they should have that for the NBA. Not saying that, U23 is like where you have like guys that are rookies that you can claim just because of that. But really, you should be looking at a situation where you see the top players, you see the players, and you try to get them, just kind of being a reserve player. Be in the area, we'll pay for your apartment and other stuff like that. We're not going to pay for anything like super big or super fancy, but just enough to where you can come to work every day. If we need you, you're in. sort of deal. It's kind of like pickup where you pick up the next person and you're like, well, there's no one really left, so we're just going to take you. Like that. I think that's how you're going to have to approach this. And so, in my opinion, I think they're doing it the right way. The question for me is now going to be, what is the NBA going to do about it? What are we going to see from the NBA? Because right now, these sort of rules that they have in place, like some of them I understand and some of them I don't understand as much. But again, that is just my opinion. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys make of the story? Do you guys agree with the story? Do you guys not agree with my situation of maybe expanding the rosters? Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, the next story that we got to talk about is James Harden, and kind of, I would say this is a James Harden and also Kyrie Irving story. We'll talk about Kyrie Irving, and I believe he's expected to play Saturday. That is the expectation going around the league, is that he's going to be back for the Orlando Magic. He's been fined almost $1 million, I believe $800,000 to $900,000. Whatever the price is, that's a really steep price to pay for missing a couple games. But, at the end of the day, it's his choice, his money, so if he decides not to, that's on him. But we need to talk about this story, of course, coming from, if I'm not mistaken, Malika Andrews from ESPN. So, James Harden addressed the media for the first time since his trade to Houston to the Brooklyn Nets. Harden said he doesn't believe he was being disrespectful to anyone as his career with the Rockets came to a close, but he does not regret how the situation unfolded. I've been there for a very long time, Harden said to the Rockets. I've been through all the ups and downs, with that organization, and I wasn't disrespectful toward anyone. I just made a comment that a team as a whole wasn't good enough to compete for a title. And at this stage of my career where I am now, that's what I would love. And so I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to anybody, especially not towards the organization. And like I said, I'm excited to be here in Brooklyn and, excited for a new start. I regret it because I'm not that type of guy. I don't need that attention, Harden said. The ultimate goal was to get somewhere where I can compete. And here I am in Brooklyn. Harden said that he will lean into his playmaking abilities to coexist with elite scorers like KD and Kyrie Irving. I think for me, giving myself a chance is very important, Harden said. Younger, giving myself a chance by wanting to get paid, by wanting to take care of my family, was very, very important to me. Now at this stage of my career, it's giving myself a chance to do something I haven't accomplished yet in this league. That's why I'm here in Brooklyn. Obviously, we know it's not going to be easy, Harden said. With this roster and this coaching staff and this organization, I think we have a legit chance. And Harden, I think you're missing the whole point as to why people were upset. Like I said, I'm not upset that you wanted to leave. I get the frustration. You've done everything you can. You've gotten the players that you've wanted. And that's the thing, that I will preface this whole thing on. The Houston Rockets basically gave James Harden everything he wanted. Gave him the right coach, gave him the center when he wanted it, didn't want the center, trade out for a point guard and Chris Paul, gave you that, gave you Russell Westbrook, gave you your best friend, gave you that, and basically gave you the keys to run the offense and basically do the things that you did in Houston. And that to me is the biggest damning evidence as to why James Harden was out of line with what he did. Not saying that asking for a trade request is out of line. Hey, if you want to leave because you believe that this team is not good enough to win, then by all means, do it. But what is frustrating, I would say, as an organization and as a team that, was looking to see like, oh, maybe we could do something this year, to basically be derailed because one, you're at the strip club when you really should be at practice. Two, you show up overweight and not really in basketball peak condition. That Lakers game, the game before you got traded, that you quit on your team. That is probably the most disrespectful thing that you could do to a teammate, is quit on them. And I think that it relates to work, it relates to life, it relates to everything that we know and love. When you quit on something, when someone depends on you because it's a group project, it's a group thing, you have to, in terms of like doing things, you have to get a group involved. Like the fact that you just gave up on your teammate, that block that Anthony Davis got on you, that showed me that you didn't want to play that night. And that to me is a situation where it frustrates the heck out of me, honestly. Because I do think that James Harden could be a much better teammate. I do think that he could be a much better player and share the rock. I mean, look, you've been playing the same way of basketball for about 4 to 5 years or however long you've been in Houston. ISO ball, taking care of the rock yourself. Obviously, we've seen it on a steroid level-esque type of situation with the way that you played these last couple years, these last at least 3 to 4 years. and it hasn't worked. So maybe instead of looking at seeing that other people were the problem or that you weren't trying to be disrespectful, look yourself in the mirror. Look at what you've done to this team. Look what you've done to this organization. Not saying that you owe them anything because, we talked about, the organizations, they are not loyal to the players. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's in the best interest of themselves. And unfortunately, that is the sad truth of sports. That is the sad truth of life, is that for most people, although they would love to help you, something has to be in it for them as well. Some sort of self-gratification, some sort of money, monetization involvement, whatever it is. Like, that to me is kind of what's going to be happening and going on. And so, when it comes to James Harden, I think he needs to own up to the responsibility and to the failures that happened in Houston. Because ultimately, that's on you. That's on you for not getting your teammates involved. That's on you for not getting the offense ready to go and where it needs to be. And at the end of the day, what is frustrating to me and what I find kind of laughable in this instance from James Harden is that basically he didn't thank the Houston Rockets organization. And I think that, look, it may have not worked out. And, divorce happens, whether, whatever it is, right? Divorce, just, separating of two people, or just like, that friendship, it just didn't work out. But the thing is that they gracefully gave you an opportunity. They gracefully did everything for you. So if James Harden's too blind to see that they actually did things for him, then that's on him. And in my opinion, he should apologize for it. He should apologize for saying that, look, the Houston Rockets did everything for me, and I'm sorry we didn't win a championship, but I'm here in Brooklyn to win it. And I would like to thank the Houston organization for everything that they did, but now I feel like now I have a better opportunity, or like the chances of me trying to get a championship, I feel, are better here in Brooklyn than it was in Houston. And I would be okay with that. Because ultimately, that team is much better. That Brooklyn team is much better than the Houston team. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And the unfortunate thing that I'm seeing from here is that James Harden just did not own up to his responsibility. And it's the same thing with Kyrie Irving. And let's get to this Kyrie Irving story, because I believe it is being reported that Kyrie Irving is going to... Okay, so he's going to be out Saturday, but he is going to return at some point. That's kind of the expectations from him. So, according to Malika Andrews, again, another reporter for like that Houston, Brooklyn area, she says that the Brooklyn guard Kyrie Irving will miss the 6th consecutive game Saturday against the Orlando Magic. While Irving has expressed his desire to play, sources said his extended absence from the court requires a period of ramping up basketball activities. Kyrie Irving has not played a game since January 5th. So, he's been gone for about a solid 10 days. Whether he's been playing basketball or not, we don't know. And for the first 5 games of his absence, listed was out due to personal reasons. Saturday's absence is unrelated, as he's listed out as part of the league's health and safety protocol. And we know that on Friday that the league announced that Irving had violated the league's health and safety rules, with the video emerging of him celebrating his sister's 30th birthday party. So they fined him $50,000 a day. And, according to Bob Marks, Irving will lose about $816,000 of his salary. That to me is crazy. The fact that you're going to lose about $1 million in your salary, like, just think about where that money could have gone, where it could have went to. But instead of like giving a reasonable explanation or saying that you're hurt or whatever it was, you basically left everybody in the dark. And I think the most damning thing about this whole thing is that you left your head coach, Steve Nash, which I know you have no respect for. I know that Kyrie Irving does not have respect for Steve Nash. For some reason, I don't understand why that is, but I really do feel the disrespect that Steve Nash gets in his coaching tenure. Kevin Durant worked with him in Golden State. He was a consultant, not a coach, but a consultant as a former two-time MVP in this league. Steve Nash has a lot of game that he could spit to Kyrie Irving and say, like, hey, man, like, this is where you need to look at. I understand you're more of a dribble god, and I get that, but I'm trying to get you more looks. I'm trying to get you more attention. And so the fact that, we talked about these two stories with Kyrie Irving and especially the James Harden thing, but going back to Kyrie Irving, like, man, it's time that you just say and own up to what you've been doing. Not saying that you need to say like, oh, I've been doing this, this, and this, here, like give you my like daily itinerary as to what I'm doing. No, I'm not asking for a daily itinerary. What I'm asking you to do is saying that like, hey, I was really focused on this like police reform stuff, or focused on more of the BLM stuff, and really trying to get that going. And I want to apologize to my teammates and my coaches in the front office for scaring them and worrying them for a situation that I feel is a little bit more important to me at the moment. And I think the owners and the GMs would agree with you, and they would honestly be okay with that. But the fact that you've been MIA, the fact that we haven't heard anything from anybody is a concern. And that's the reason why people were worried about your health. And I think that when people are worried about your health like that, they're genuinely wanting to know how they can help you. But the fact that Kyrie Irving kind of left his teammates, I don't think he told his teammates the whole truth. I don't think he told the GM the whole truth. I don't even think he told Steve Nash or Kevin Durant the whole truth. And basically, the Brooklyn Nets brought in James Harden as an insurance package so that in case Kyrie Irving decides, you know what, I'm not going to play this season, they have at least a player that can play for them. And at the end of the day, the most frustrating thing right now is that we still have yet to hear from Kyrie Irving. We have still yet to hear from him in the media, kind of people wondering where he's at, what he's been doing. And it's just been so long that I honestly forgot that Kyrie Irving was in the league. And I know that may be like a crazy thing, but it is kind of a situation where, a lot of people are kind of comparing him to Kanye West. And at the moment, he's kind of proving the people that are saying that right with the way that he's acting. And, I want to see Kyrie Irving successful. I want to see him play basketball because, man, that dude is so talented. It's crazy how talented he is. It's crazy what he can do with the basketball in midair, doing these, different, contorting his body in ways where he can finish the layup and adding spin to it that, you try to imitate yourself and you're like, how the heck did he do that? But at the end of the day, if Kyrie Irving's not into basketball, I think he should really be upfront and honest. And that's not being, and I don't think that's really being hater or rude, or it's like people are saying, oh, well, people are saying that Kyrie should retire or dumb and idiotic. No. The reason why I say that, or the reason why people say that, is because, look, if Kyrie Irving wants to retire, he can. And I think his friends even called him the Lauryn Hill of the NBA, because we know that Lauryn Hill retired before she was really out of her prime, before she really, was on the decline. And we're just seeing here with Kyrie Irving is that I don't want to see Kyrie Irving retire in his prime. I want to see him retire, when he decides that, hey, look, I just can't do this anymore. And, this is just kind of like, he's getting old. And that's the one I want to see him retire. I don't want to see him retire at 30 years old or 28 or 29 years old. He's 28 right now. I don't want to see him retire at 28, 29. I want to see him retire when he's like 35, 36. Because I think he can add so much to this league. But now we have to really look at Kyrie Irving in his last stints, not only in Cleveland, but now at Boston. And here in Brooklyn as well. Like, it just kind of goes to show you that it was never, I would say that it's not entirely on the fault of these organizations. And really it's on the fault of Kyrie Irving. And, we talked about kind of how everyone kind of pictured, or I should say I pictured Kyrie Irving as the Nightwing of the NBA. And if you guys don't know who Nightwing is, Nightwing used to be Robin, and we know that Robin is the sidekick of Batman, but Robin wanted to be his own guy, wanted to be his own superhero, wanted to be his own dude, and became Nightwing. And I feel like it's the same thing for Kyrie Irving. He wanted to become Nightwing, but when he did have that responsibility of taking care of, being the leader of a team, really focused on, being the guy that everyone goes to, that pressure was too much for him, and that's the reason why he went to Brooklyn and recruited KD, so that way KD can be the Batman and Kyrie can be the Robin. But now with James Harden here, everyone's kind of saying that he's going to be Alfred, the butler, which I don't think is necessarily true, but I do think that he's going to be one of those cameo characters that comes in like once in a while and helps you out. And I don't want to see that happen for a guy like Kyrie Irving, but ultimately, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from a guy like Kyrie Irving. And unfortunately, we'll see if Kyrie Irving can recover from this. We'll see if Kyrie Irving can really do anything to get himself back into, I would say, that basketball peak performance that we all know and love. I want to see Kyrie Irving get better. I want to see Kyrie Irving play at a level that is intuitive to where he's at in his career, which is one of the best ball handling point guards we've ever seen before. But at the end of the day, if he's not playing, if he's not showing up, if he's not doing things to get himself back to playing, to doing things, to get himself, dominating on the court, then ultimately we're going to be left disappointed. And I'm really frustrated about it. I will tell you this. I'm frustrated. And I do think that they need to do a better job. And so we'll see what happens. I think a lot of people are expecting this team to be in the NBA Finals. I do too. But at the end of the day, I think the Lakers are just that much better. One, they have chemistry. Two, their defense is probably the best in the league at this moment. So I don't necessarily think I'm going to see a situation where the Brooklyn Nets are going to overtake a Lakers or overtake. Honestly, they could struggle against the Philadelphia 76ers or even the Boston Celtics if they're fully healthy. Not saying that the Boston Celtics are going to do anything this year, because I think that we need to make a trade for one more guy in order for that to happen. But, we could potentially see, because we look at the rebounding numbers for this Brooklyn Nets team. It is absolutely atrocious. And that was with Jared Allen. And now we're seeing that Brooklyn right now defensively and just kind of the way that they get rebounds. And you get rid of your best defender in Taurean Prince. You go to this sort of, you get rid of your depth. You still have Spencer Dinwiddie, but I'm not sure if he's going to be fully back yet. You get rid of your depth to add a guy who doesn't play defense, and now you already have three guys who are not going to be the best defensive players. I mean, maybe Kevin Durant to a default, just because he's almost 7 feet tall, or he is 7 feet tall, is going to be the best defender. But guys like James Harden, guys like Kyrie Irving are not playing defense, and so we'll see when teams play against him and they go offensively against him. I want to see what the team's going to look like. Like when this team is fully healthy, like with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, I want to see what the defense looks like. I want to see what the offensive game plan is going to be against those guys, because it'd be interesting to see like whether or not people are going to start, are they going to icing the ball screens is kind of the popular thing to do now in the NBA. But there's obviously some other things as well. You can switch, a high, kind of set a high screen to kind of deter them from going to whatever side they're on, and kind of forcing them back the other way and trying to funneling them that way. So we'll see what happens. Like, we'll see if, I really want to see defensively what they're going to do, and seeing what Steve Nash is going to do with defensive play calling, see like what situation we're going to see at hand. But at the end of the day, what is going to be frustrating to me is the fact that we're not getting Kyrie Irving back yet. And that's probably, I would say, frustrating to a lot of fans. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for the charge. Again, guys, sorry for the no stream last night. Just was tired, and, obviously the hair was looking terrible. So when the hair is looking terrible, the stream can't happen. But anyway, guys, like I said, thank you once again for joining me here. I know it's Friday. I know that many people are probably not going to watch this until the weekend, or they're going to have it on later on, just to kind of listen to. But anyway, guys, like I said, my name is Bernie. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.